Hey guys, I'm Dr. Sean and I'm the Nerd Doctor, here to diagnose what's wrong with your RPG game and here to help you fix it. But first, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and comment on any feedback or any material you'd like to hear you talk more about again in the future. Today's video is on character creation, progression methods, and pacing, a request by one of my viewers. I'll be honest though, this is a hard topic for me to write about because what I love about ICRPG is the very fact that it is easily customizable. Hankerin gives you a couple examples of what milestones you could get per subtype in the Master's Edition. And he also has the milestone paths: iron, smoke, amber, oak, and hawk. But ultimately, to me, that's all they are: examples. Can you live by those? Absolutely. But should you? For one, I think if you did, you'd run out of material really quickly. I'm someone who would play a different character concept each game, but I know there's a lot of people who like to play as one, and that's really it. If you're a D&D player, a lot of them will only play as one class their whole life. They like the fighter, the monk, the cleric, wizard, whatever, and all they change up is the subclass, and that's them branching out. Though to be fair, if you're often playing such long campaigns and never dying, there isn't a lot of opportunity to try something new. But if you're playing ICRPG, you're probably someone who likes to change things up. And by no means is it a bad thing to have a concept you like to play with. You know what you enjoy, and that's all that matters, that you're having a fun time at the table. But anyways, back to running out of material quickly. Let's say you play as a warrior. There are 7 examples of milestones in the Master Edition, 10 if you count mastery, but only 3 of those 10 would be considered specific to a certain subtype. And even stronger is in every class. It's roughly the same in every example class too. Let's say you played a campaign where you gave out 1 milestone every session, which in my opinion is a good way to play because players love getting a reward at the end of sessions, or maybe every 2 sessions, because players get sick of staying at the same level very quickly. But let's just say you just did 1 every session. There was 7 sessions worth of material in each class because mastery happens separately based on the number of natural 20s you roll. Could you complete a campaign in 7 sessions? Probably. There's a lot of short adventures that only take 3. That'd be plenty. But D&D campaign books are usually at least 15 chapters or more. So on the one hand, you have too much material, and on the other, you don't have enough. 7 sessions is a lot if you play once every quarter, but definitely not if you play every week, every other week, or once a month. I'm willing to bet that there's a lot of ICRPG players that are pretty regular players. So you'd run out of written material really quickly if you're a regular player. This is my roundabout point. Don't get caught up in what's written in the book. The basic rules are all you need. The archetypes and subtypes are examples, and that's it. Use the examples as you're learning to play or teaching someone how to play, but that's all you need it for. The very first step in the Master Edition character creation is who and what are you? A difficult question to ask someone who's never played before, but if you've been playing for a while, I'm sure you have an idea of a character concept that you want to play as. And I challenge you to let your imagination run with it. This is a heavily customizable system. Dungeons and Dragons spoon feeds you. One character I've obsessed over as a player is my character Rook, an Aasimar who underwent magical experimentation that turned him into a kind of cursed genasi, where every day he wakes up and I roll a d4 to determine which genasi form he wakes up as that day: air, fire, water, or earth. He ended up making a deal with Timor, the goddess of luck, to escape these experiments because he's a degenerate gambler, and that's how he ended up in this situation in the first place. But he's a Pact of the Deck warlock that I homebrewed for a D&D game that I'm playing in, and let me tell you, he was so hard to balance and create under D&D rules. But if this was an ICRPG game, it would have been a lot easier to get the flavor I was looking for. But that's my concept. He's a sweet-talking rogue with a magical deck granted to him by his patron. He uses his card tricks for distractions, as a fanned-out melee weapon, a magical ranged weapon, and a focus for spells that deal random damage types based on the suit he draws. As he progresses, the number of cards he can throw in one action increases. He can choose between 2 damage types based on each suit, and even gets to the point where he can summon aberrations based on the royal cards, summoning the ace, king, queen, jack, or even joker to the battlefield, each with their own unique power, and maybe even one day be able to trap monsters or even people within his cards. You can probably see a string of different themes for this character, as there were a lot of different inspirations for this homebrewed class. As I'm sure we can all agree, if there is a character concept we want to play, the inspiration for it probably comes from somewhere. But ICRPG isn't meant to spoon feed you your character that you want to play. It's there to give you examples so that when you have that concept or idea in your mind, it's easy to work with your DM to make them come to life with the simple mechanics of ICRPG. And ultimately, I think that's far more satisfying than anything you get if you took it straight from the book. So in the end, I don't have any good ideas for milestones and pacing. I think getting a milestone every 1 to 2 sessions is a good way to keep players excited for getting something new every couple of games. But just as Hankerin tells it, ICRPG is more about loot than innate abilities. It's not meant to be a linear game. It's meant to be a roller coaster of gaining loot and gaining power and losing loot and losing power. Give loot out like it's candy, but make them use it and lose it. Milestones can be more rare if you play that way. Ultimately, it depends on the dynamics of your table and how you as an individual want to run a game with the players you have. Do you want milestones and loot to be high? Do you want milestones to be high and loot to be low? Do you want loot to be high and milestones to be low? Hankerin gives it to you straight. Don't plan the whole campaign in one night. Plan it session by session. It's much easier that way. Trust your instincts and do what feels right for that session. If you need to spoon feed a new player, then do it. But if you have a player that has ideas about what they want to be and how they want to get stronger, then give it to them when you think it best fits your story. Not just when they do something great, but even after a tremendous failure. After all, it's after a big failure that we often find our greatest strengths anyway. But anyways, that's all I have for you today. Sorry for getting too cheesy for you at the end. Thanks again for listening. And don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and comment your feedback if there's any topics you'd like to hear me talk more about. Again, I'm Dr. Sean, and I'm the Nerd Doctor, here to diagnose what's wrong with your RPG game and here to help you fix it.